Hey there. This R.A. Grimes. Literary god. You know, people often ask me, hey R.A., do you have to be smart to write a book? The answer is yes. In fact, I'll take it one further. You might need to be a genius to write a novel like my new book, The New Country. So what do you do if you are not a genius like me? Well, never give up hope. There is always writing children's books. That's right. Dr. Seuss was a complete moron. Roald Dahl, a dullard, but still made millions, writing immature drabble. I mean, have you ever read Huckleberry Finn? It is the mindless scrawl of an illiterate monkey. Yet slap children's book on it, and it is an instant classic. So there you have it. You don't need to be an intellectual giant to write. But remember, you will never be able to write anything as brilliant as The New Country, unless you have at least a community college education.
Who am I? Perhaps you have met me twixt sleep and wake, in the penumbra of uncertainty you call unconsciousness. Or perhaps you have met me at a book signing. I am R.A. Grimes, author. In some countries I am worshipped as a god, in other countries I am a wanton fugitive, a malefactor, of desperado as it were. Who am I? Adventurer, a drunken fornicating playboy with a love for fine women and fine cheese. Tonight I'd like to take you on a journey into my heart of darkness. Don't worry, I have a flashlight.
Hendrix, Morrison, Joplin, Cobain, Howell, and now Winehouse. It seems that the only way to make it really begin rock and roll is to die at the age of 27, especially now that rock and roll is dead anyway. So was this Amy Winehouse's last attempt to live like a rock star in the post-rock American Idol era of washdowns to released elevator pop. I don't know what Amy died of, but at least poetically, one is tempted to suggest that she could not cope with the lack of creative depth of the music industry. And, perhaps above all, the lack of talent of her contemporaries. But what made her totally different from her contemporaries was that she really was a troubled soul fighting the inner demons of creativity, as opposed to an ephemeral brand at the disposal of Twitter and OK magazine. There was always a different layer of depth to Amy, one not found in Rihanna, Adele, or Lady Gaga. That layer is called authenticity, and Amy paid a high price for being authentic. The others are just original, but originality is a lot healthier than authenticity, because your life is not at stake. Anyway, back to the original question. I will not pretend to provide a scientific answer, but science is about identifying patterns first and explaining them next. So, how can we explain this pattern of famous rock stars living just until they are 27? Are there any salient life events in adult development that could conflict with the needs or goals of talented artists, especially in rock and roll? Can we draw any parallels in the biographies of these music icons, and can personality theory help us understand these unusual events? Psychopathology tells us that all forms of mental illness are characterized by disruptive symptoms, uncontrollable, anxiety-evoking, annoying patterns of thought, behavior or effect that impair our capacity to love and work. We know that Hendrix, Howell, Cobain, Joplin, and Winehouse all had problems with drugs, and that they had even bigger problems when they stopped taking them. Amy was seemingly clean now, but drinking a lot. Like the others, Amy was self-medicating, and was probably manic-depressive. Personality theory tells us that our personality does not change very much after the age of 30, but that there are some general developmental changes in most people's personality, even after that age. As we grow older, we become more emotionally stable, more conscientious, more agreeable. Personality theory tells us that our personality does not change very much after the age of 30, but that there are some general developmental changes in most people's personality, even after that age. As we grow older, we become more emotionally stable, more conscientious, more agreeable, and less open to new experiences. So, it seems, then, that getting old is a major threat to our creative enterprises, especially if you are a rock star. Most people become more conforming, more adjusted, more boring, less creative. The battle that the Hendrixes, Winehouses, or Morrisons of this world may have fought, through their personality and art, was, on one hand, a battle against society. On the other hand, they may have been battling against their own self-transformation. In fact, in becoming successful, they may have become a victim of the very system they were attempting to change. The realization that they were being consumed by others. Imagine Che Guevara had lived long enough to see all those middle-class punks wearing his t-shirts, may have done him in. Now Amy will become an even bigger brand, and even an icon. However, it is hard to imagine that she would have cared about this. This is what makes Amy different from most of her contemporary celebrities, who seem likely to fake, and even cause, their own death, just in order to be more famous. I think Andy Warhol killed rock and roll when he invented pop. Amy was an anachronistic rock child. Her talent was the main cause of her success, but also of her downfall. In an era of creative mediocrity, I think of David Guetta or the Black Eyed Peas. Her public and the media seemed to forgive her everything, and turned her into a brand despite her unacceptable behavior. They left her with no escape, not in this world. And this is what the other 27 rock stars have in common with her. They failed because they were too successful.
So you've seen the headlines, how soon we'll bring the world's end. They'll make black holes that won't disintegrate, and so we'll descend into the pressing gravity. First Geneva, then the rest of the earth. Sure sounds depressing, but you won't get compressed. These doomsday claims, they're nothing more than a ruse. Scary stuff, huh? Yeah. It sure makes for cheap news. Despite what many haters have so loudly suggested, the safety of the LHC has been thoroughly tested. Billions of years of cosmic rays striking the atmosphere have had more energy than our pimped out proton sphere. If a black hole could be created, it's already been done by these travelers arriving since the Earth's first dawn. First dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, dawn. Let's start with Stephen Hawking, whose voice we like to borrow, whose predictions on the black holes bring some physicists out. He thinks
microscopic black holes cannot be created at the energies of the LHC.
But if they were, these mini holes would be so small that they wouldn't pull in anything at all. They can't even hold together, and since they fall apart, there's no space for a doomsday scenario to start. Despite what some news agencies have suggested, the safety of the LHC has been thoroughly tested. Billions of years of cosmic rays striking the atmosphere have had more energy than our high-powered protons here. If a black hole could be created, it's already been done by these travelers arriving since the Earth's first dawn. First dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn. You may say, what the hey are cosmic rays? Particles born in explosions, then they speed away until something interferes, such as our atmosphere, and they've been ramming into Earth for all its 4 billion years. The LHC sends protons at high energies, 7 times the next best human laboratory. The cosmic rays 1,000,000 times stronger than our collisions, come 100 times a second. So can you envision that if the world could possibly end in a black hole made from a particle, it would have happened long ago. So relax, 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 relax. Despite what guys with lawsuits have loudly suggested, the safety of the LHC has been thoroughly tested. Billions of years of cosmic rays striking the atmosphere have had more energy than our souped up protons here. If a black hole could be created, it's already been done by these travelers arriving since the Earth's first dawn. First dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn. Now if you're quick, or of a scientific bent, you'll note a microscopic hole in my argument. You see, a black hole from cosmics would travel at high speed, but an LHC black hole would pretty much need to be created at rest in some fear that it could sink to the center of the Earth, and then they think that the black holes would slowly accumulate until our lovely planet is totally ate or eaten. Well, it's already figured out why the LHC safety still isn't in doubt. While a tiny black hole can breeze right through Earth's rock, it couldn't cut a path and neutron stars stop. These stars are so dense, the gravity so immense, that not even tiny black holes can traverse them. Hence, if If one gets created, it's stuck inside the star. If it could grow, then think we'd ever see one? No cigar. The monopoles, strangelets, and weirder scare tactics are all taken care of with this one simple fact. When we look up in space, we see neutron stars shine. It's complicated, yeah, but it's the bottom line. Despite what many hate us, it's so loudly suggested, the safety of the LHC has been thoroughly tested. Billions of years of cosmic rays striking the atmosphere have had more energy than our pimped out protons here. If a black hole could be created, it's already been done by these travelers arriving since the Earth's first dawn. First dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, first dawn, dawn. The last issue that I feel the need to address is this idea that certain physicists are wholly obsessed with finding answers, so much that they gamble the planet, their lives, friends, families, and all else that's on it. They're all people. And despite what you may fear, they got reasons of their own to want to keep the world here. Keep the world here. Keep the world here. Keep the world here. Keep the world here.
The global war on drugs has failed, and governments should explore legalizing marijuana and other controlled substances. That is not me saying this, but, according to a commission that includes former heads of state and a former UN Secretary General, a new report by the Global Commission on Drug Policy argues that the decades-old global war on drugs has failed, with devastating consequences for individuals and societies around the world. Political leaders and public figures should have the courage to articulate publicly what many of them acknowledge privately, that the evidence overwhelmingly demonstrates that repressive strategies will not solve the drug problem, and that the war on drugs has not and cannot be won. Instead of punishing users who do no harm to others, governments should end criminalization of drug use, experiment with legal models that would undermine organized crime syndicates, and offer health and treatment services for drug users in need. We need drug policies based on methods empirically proven to reduce crime, lead to better health, and promote economic and social development. I am especially critical of the US, which its members say must lead changing its anti-drug policies from being guided by anti-crime approaches to ones rooted in healthcare and human rights.
A short history of airport security. We screen for guns and bombs, so the terrorists use box cutters. We screen footwear, so they try to use liquids. We confiscate liquids, so they put PET bombs in their underwear. We roll out full body scanners, even though they would not have caught the underwear armor, so they put a bomb in a printer cartridge. We ban printer cartridges over 16 ounces. The level of magical thinking here is amazing, and they are just going to do something else. Why not take all the money spent on new security measures and spend it on investigation and intelligence? This is a stupid game, and we should stop playing it. It is not even a fair game. It is not that the terrorist picks an attack and we pick a defense and we see who wins. It is that we pick a defense, and then the terrorists look at our defense and pick an attack designed to get around it. Our security measures only work if we happen to guess the plot correctly. If we get it wrong, we have wasted our money. This is not security, it is security theater. There are two basic kinds of terrorists. They are the sloppy planners, like the guy who crashed his plane into the Internal Revenue Service building in Austin. He is going to be sloppy and stupid, and even pre-9/11 airplane security is going to catch him. The second is the well-planned, well-financed, and much rarer sort of plot. Do you really expect the TSA screeners, who are busy confiscating water bottles and making people take off their belts, and now doing uncomfortable pat-downs, to stop them? Of course not. Airport security is the last line of defense, and it's not a very good one. What works is investigation and intelligence, security that works regardless of the terrorist tactic or target. Yes, the target matters too. All this airport security is only effective if the terrorists target airports. If they decide to bomb crowded shopping malls instead, we have wasted our money. That being said, airplanes require a special level of security for several reasons. They are a favored terrorist target. Their failure characteristics mean more deaths than a comparable bomb on a bus or train. They tend to be national symbols. And they often fly to foreign countries, where terrorists can operate with more impunity. But all that can be handled with pre-9/11 security. Exactly two things have made airplane travel safer since 9/11, reinforcing the cockpit door and convincing passengers they need to fight back. Add screening of checked bags and airport workers, and we are done. Neither the full body scanners or the enhanced pat-downs are making anyone safer. They are more a result of politicians and government appointments capitulating to a public that demands that something must be done, even when nothing should be done, and a government bureaucracy that is more concerned about the security of their careers, if they fail to secure against the last attack, than what happens if they fail anticipate the next one.
Those faces, those terrible faces, I can't stand it.
Ghosts roaming around loose until I got into the Ghost Breakers. Believe me, the Cat and the Canary was a pink tea compared to this picture. It all starts in one terrible night.
New York has had many storms, but never has the whole place gone dark. It's very strange.
Basil Rathbone must be giving a party.
You know what's liable to happen if we should see a ghost tonight? No. We'd be so scared we'd probably take shots at it.
Well, what have we here? Range about 30 feet. Switch on. Ready. Aim. Fire. It works.
Well, who are you? I'm a Ghostbuster. Watch it, Buster.
We've got something.
What is that?
Reports are coming in from all over the Empire. We still don't know what it is or where it comes from.
Ectoplasm has the world in an uproar.
Oh, now relax, will you? It's only 11:45, and you know it's against the union rules for the ghosts to start walking before midnight.
Your watch must be slow. There's one now.
Yeah.
Are you a god?
She's just trying to scare us.
Well, she's wasting her time because we're scared already.
We're the Ghostbusters. We're clever, courageous, and strong. Your sleep has been haunted with whispers and rattlings. Your blood has been curdled. We don't want to do. Your skin has the creepies. I wonder what's happening. You're safe in our hands. We will take care of you. We're the Ghostbusters.
But we don't believe in ghosts. Or do I?
I love you, Nora. Do you love me?
Oh, I don't know, Jack.
You're the only girl I've dated in 2 months. We get along fine. You do love me, don't you?
I think so, but I'll have to think about it.
Hello, dear.
Hello, Mom.
Have a nice time?
I'll say. Jack's awfully handsome and such a smooth dancer. Mom, how can I tell if... how did you know when you were in love with Dad?
Oh, I've been in love several times before. I got so I could recognize the symptoms.
Several times?
Mm-hmm. And each time I thought I'd found my Prince Charming. Most people fall in love quite a few times in their lives.
Well, then, how can you tell when you're really in love?
Well, I'll have to think about that. Let's save it tomorrow, shall we?
All right. Good night.
Good night, dear.
Most people fall in love quite a few times. I wonder if Jack knows that.
American gay and lesbian people are not only American citizens, which as a point of law, we have so far refused to accept through the prism of military service. They are also human beings. As such, in America, they are entitled to the protection of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a document strongly influenced by the United States through the person of Eleanor Roosevelt, recognizes that the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society, and is entitled to protection by society and the state, and so men and women, of full age, without any limitation, due to race, nationality, or religion, have the right to marry, and to found a family. Men and women are entitled to equal rights, as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution, and marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. This is a matter of fundamental human and civil equality. If a man may marry, he may marry regardless of his sexual orientation. If a woman may marry, she may marry regardless of her sexual orientation. And that means whom they choose, provided they and their partners are of full age and freely and fully consent. To say that gay and lesbian people may marry but only people of the opposite sex, willingly marry someone of the other sex, let alone if they genuinely care for that person, they have no practical or ethical right to marry at all. In this context, this is what equal rights before the law means, not simply between men and women, but also between human beings more generally. Not everything that is good should be a right, no more than everything that is bad should be a crime. The law can be a harsh and crude instrument, more suited for punishment than guidance or encouragement. But the right to marry, which is to say, the right to have the law recognize your deepest, most important relationship with a person whom you love, honor, cherish, and intend to cling to, forsaking all others, and with whom you hope and intend to spend the rest of your life, is central to the ability of each of us to create a secure, stable, and dignified life. And as American citizens and human beings, gay people are entitled to the equal protection of the laws, and including the recognition of their marriages, as an essential foundation for engaging in the individual human work of creating those secure, stable, and dignified lives to which we are all entitled.
What is that? The religious implications? What? Who cares about that? That was established long ago with the separation of church and state. Hey, you can teach your children anything you want. They are going to be what they are going to be, and no religious dogma will change that.
Much like Y2K, 2012 has been analyzed, and the science of the end of the Earth thoroughly studied. Contrary to some of the common beliefs out there, The science behind the end of the world quickly unravels when pinned down to the 2012 timeline. I will go through some of the questions most have asked me about the end of the world. So, are there any threats to the Earth in 2012? Many internet websites say the world will end in December 2012. No. Nothing bad will happen to the Earth in 2012. Our planet has been getting along just fine for more than 4 billion years, and credible scientists worldwide know of no threat associated with 2012. The story started with claims that Nibiru, a supposed planet discovered by the Sumerians, is headed toward Earth. This catastrophe was initially predicted for May 2003, but when nothing happened, the doomsday date was moved forward to December 2012. Then these two fables were linked to the end of one of the cycles in the ancient Mayan calendar at the winter solstice in 2012, hence the predicted doomsday date of December the 21st, 2012. Just as the calendar you have on your kitchen wall does not cease to exist after December 31st, the Mayan calendar does not cease to exist on December 21st, 2012. This date is the end of the Mayan long count period. But then just as your calendar begins again on January 1st, another long count period begins for the Mayan calendar. Nibiru and other stories about wayward planets are an internet hoax. There is no factual basis for these claims. If Nibiru or planet X were real and headed for an encounter with the Earth in 2012, astronomers would have been tracking it for at least the past decade, and it would be visible by now to the naked eye. Obviously, it does not exist. Eris is real, but it is a dwarf planet similar to Pluto that will remain in the outer solar system. The closest it can come to Earth is about 4 billion miles. Solar activity has a regular cycle, with peaks approximately every 11 years. Near these activity peaks, solar flares can cause some interruption of satellite communications, although engineers are learning how to build electronics that are protected against most solar storms. But there is no special risk associated with 2012. The next solar maximum will occur in the 2012 to 2014 time frame, and is predicted to be an average solar cycle, no different than previous cycles throughout. For any claims of disaster or dramatic changes in 2012, where is the science? Where is the evidence? There is none, and for all the fictional assertions, whether they are made in books, movies, documentaries or over the internet, we cannot change that simple fact. There is no credible evidence for any of the assertions made in support of unusual events taking place in December 2012.
My friends, the time has come once again. I see the fat lady has left the stage, and she is heading home to me, and I got to put her to bed. You could have spent this time with anyone, but you spent it with me, and that meant the world to me, so until we meet again, watch the skies. I mean it, my uncle was killed last week, when an airplane engine fell on his head. Good night.